There are nearly 5,000 non-native plants in the United States. Many of these species aren't considered to be invasive. Many non-native plants that are established just don't cause significant damage to our native ecosystems. However, there are some introduced plants that have caused so much damage to our forests, grasslands, meadows, and mountains that they have completely altered ecosystem functions and have put many of our native species populations at risk. I'm traveling to Knoxville, Tennessee to not only visit family, but to visit some local breweries and study some of these invasives that are causing biodiversity loss in the Smoky Mountains. Great Smoky Mountains National Park is one of the largest protected areas in the eastern United States, covering 522,419 acres, and it's just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. This national park is home to nearly 380 of those non-native plants. But in Knoxville, there's a smaller natural area, a 318-acre wildlife sanctuary, Ijams Nature Center, a place to experience nature within the metropolis of Knoxville and where people can see local species up close. There, I met with Ben Nanny, the Natural Resource Manager of Ijams, and he has agreed to show me around and tell me about the invasive plants that have affected this oasis in the concrete jungle.
And that's one of our, we call it the top fours, but it is. Most of our volunteer work days, we focus on our 4 most prevalent species, and that's bush honeysuckle, Chinese privet, English ivy, and then winter creeper. That's the most prevalent of the ones that we have in the park, and they're the most easily controlled with volunteer labor. So we can pull them out with leverage devices, or we do cut stump treatments with our more advanced volunteers, or we have a ratio where there's an herbicide applicator with a group. Someone cutting, someone pulling, someone treating. So we try to divvy it up like that on work days and focus on those 4 species, one different species a month. Those same weed warriors that have graduated, some of them do what we call adopt-a-spots, and adopt-a-spots, you just give them their own plot and they remove anything that's invasive and non-native in that space. So the trails, there's trails everywhere, and they work as great kind of borders to create that sort of delineation.
A little bit.
Yeah. And right now we're trying to get a little bit more partnership with different groups and get them inspired to do the same kind of work. So Appalachian Mountain Bike Club is our local trail builders, and they've built pretty much all of the multi-use trails throughout this urban wilderness. And I've got them doing invasive control now. They're actually down there working on it today. One particular trail, so I had to kind of find the angle to get them to where they wanted to do that, right? Because mostly they just want to build trails because they want to play on the trails. But then I was like, this impacts your usability of this trail. This impacts your enjoyment, because a healthy forest is way better to ride through than an unhealthy forest. They're out there doing cut stump removal right now. They've been on the trail for 4 days on one trail that's about a half-mile long.
Oh man.
Volunteers are huge. And then we're like an integrated pest management, so herbicide, machines, but a lot of it's just kind of manpower and volunteers, particularly for the woody invasives. We've grown from the original 20 acres over where the Ijams family lived at our home site, and that's where our nature preschool is now. So then we expanded in like 97. to about 80 acres, and that's where the visitor center is. And then in 2000, we moved across the road and acquired the quarry, and then we acquired more quarries, and now we're up to 318 acres. So it's a 2-year grant, and it goes along the corridor, and we've already cleared most of the woody invasives, and it's created already this kind of space where you can see down into the forest, and it's just more inviting, it's healthier, and then it's allowing us access to the vining stuff and everything that's on the forest floor. So we started last August, I think, and we've had tons of volunteers down here, we've had machines down here doing chemical treatments, and then we'll do some more rounds of herbicide treatments this fall, and then start planting in the next year. Been getting some comments like, oh, I could see down in there, it was fantastic. It looked just, it was hard to look at earlier.
When the staff or volunteers at Ijams take out large invasive plants, they build a makeshift fence out of them, lining their trails and playgrounds. This uses the woody invasives in a productive way.
Try not to pile them in low wet areas because some of them will re-sprout. We've got some privet that's re-sprouting here. But by consolidating it, you have an easier time of coming back and doing foliar treatments. And then it's also a good wildlife cover. We've had pretty good success at getting it out of the trees because it is one of the...
Just suffocates them?
It's one of the worst in terms of pulling down mature trees. But we've been really plugging away at that for like 4 years now.
I was kind of curious if you guys had ash borer.
Oh yeah, they've been ravaged.
Because I was going to say I haven't seen very many ashes.
They're all dead. Dead ash. There's the little V-shaped holes. But you'll see kind of the remnants of the English ivy. The whole forest understory was just dominated by English ivy. We've got it pretty well under control.
After visiting or hiking at Ijams Nature Center, or even just on a hot day, people can go to the Ijams Quarry for a quick dip. And why not enjoy a local brew made by a local brewery at the same time? Alliance Brewing has partnered with Ijams and has their seasonal brew at the Ijams Quarry. Or you can just drive 5 minutes down the road and visit Alliance Brewing itself and get a flight. This local brewery is all about their community, and it shows with their partnership at Ijams and their place downtown. Alliance Brewing opened its doors in Knoxville in 2015 and have been killing it since. For dark beer lovers like myself, the Cubano Coffee Brown was probably my favorite, followed closely by the Scotch Ale. I know a lot of people don't like the darker beers, but they also had some great IPAs as well. IPAs just aren't my favorite beers. Much like other breweries featured on this channel, Alliance is the dream child from people with different backgrounds, and they seem to make it work. With 12 beers on tap and crowlers to go, this brewery is definitely a stop for anyone wanting to experience Knoxville's community. So next time I'm visiting family in Knoxville, I'm definitely hitting Alliance Brewing back and grabbing some more crowlers to go. They didn't last too long after I got back to Kansas.